A U.S. appeals court is currently considering their legal challenge to the practice. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Arsalan Iftikhar is an international human rights lawyer and senior editor for the Islamic Monthly magazine. He joins us live now from Chicago. Great to have you with us this evening on the News Hour. The CIA and the Pentagon, as we just heard there, deny the report's findings. In fact, what they said was that the critics of prisoner care didn't even have access to the detainees or, in fact, their medical records. So how can we be sure that these findings are accurate?
Well, Sherine, the reason that we know that these findings are accurate is, first of all, because of the fact that the 19-member task force, which is made up of doctors from some of the best medical schools here in the United States, including Harvard University, Johns Hopkins University, retired members of the armed forces, Army retired generals, had met with DOD, Department of Defense officials, and CIA officials during the 3-year span of this report to let them know what kinds of critiques were going to come out. And so this cannot come as a surprise to anybody in the military top brass here in America.
Okay, maybe you can help us out with something, because as far as we know, medical professionals sometimes are present during an interview or an interrogation, not necessarily involved in any abuse, just actually there for the patient's necessary needs, essentially. At what point do you say that they are complicit in what's happening because they are in the room?
Well, Sherine, first of all, it's important for your audience to keep in mind that here in the United States, medical doctors have to take something called the Hippocratic Oath, which essentially outlines the basis for their medical ethics. And the #1 mantra of medical ethics in America is first to do no harm. And essentially, these were not doctors who were just standing by as bystanders. These were medical doctors and medical professionals who were actually, consulting on how to conduct sleep deprivation, force feedings at Guantanamo Bay, which has been condemned by the American Medical Association, and the United Nations has even called it as a violation of international law. So they were not standing by looking out for the best interests of the detainees. They were actually taking part in the torture itself.
Okay, the reality, though, of this report is that it may well be read, covered perhaps in the media, companies like Al Jazeera for a day, and then possibly put aside. What do you think actually needs to be done now?
Well, I think it's very important for medical professional associations here in the United States, like the American Medical Association, to continue to look into this and to, possibly bring up ethics charges against any doctors licensed in the United States who did take part in the torture programs after 9/11. I think it's very important. These sorts of task force and reports are very important to transparency and really giving an insight into how far the Department of Defense and the CIA went in terms of the lengths that they went to in terms of their torture program. These weren't haphazard, things that they were doing. These were essentially coordinated efforts where they were actually even bringing in medical professionals to help accentuate the torture that was going on during these years.
Okay, it's great to get your thoughts on this. Arsalan Iftikhar, thank you.